We'll call the Town of Saltillo Beer Board to order. It is August the 1st, 2023, and it is 7:33. And so we'll commence business. We do have some minutes from the previous that, do we have the minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah, here it is right here. So I entertain a motion to accept the minutes, and basically it was, you can see what it is, just beer license approvals.
I make the motion of weeks.
Motion by Alderman Maynard,
Second.
second by Alderman Morgan. So we'll roll call. Alderman Morgan.
Here.
Yes, approved.
Yes.
Alderman Maynard, Alderman Reed, Alderman Carter, Alderman Wood. All right, so the minutes have been approved. There was no old business, but again, with the public comments, I do have a member of the community that wants to make a comment on the item on the agenda, and it is related to complaints of the Little Red Shed. But before we do that, there's one thing that I did not place on the agenda. I guess my mind is off. We need to elect a chairman of the beer board. The mayor does not need to be the chairman of the beer board, because if we have an issue that has to be in a hearing, as it was some months ago, that the mayor doesn't need to be the chairman and be the hearing officiator. So I entertain a motion to elect a chairman of the beer board.
I make a motion that we elect Mr. Carter.
Mr. Carter is been nominated for beer board chairman. It's not a tremendous amount of work, but you'll kind of run the meeting there a little bit.
I second it.
All right. So did I hear a second?
Me.
All right. So any other nominations? I'll vote for Alderman Carter by acclamation by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Alderman Carter, you are now the chairman. We'll talk more in the future about what that role is, and it's basically what I'm going to present to the board tonight. You will get some of those complaints to you, and you will share some of those with the board, and as the mayor, I will discuss them with you and things like that. So tonight, just a reminder to everyone, this is a beer board meeting. It's not a hearing. Beer board meeting, so the communication needs to be directed to the mayor. However, the public comments can be directed to the board, but it shouldn't be a bunch of back and forth. It should just, they state their information. Once we have those present their public concerns, public comments, I will pick up with the complaints as of recent. So, let's see, all right, so, who was that first?
Tim Little.
Tim Little. All right, Mr. Little, you want to go ahead?
I guess y'all all know me. I'm Tim Little, live at 46530, right kind of down a little bit below the handy corner. I just wanted to really make sure that y'all got mine and Debbie's emails of a complaint. Each one of you get that. And I suppose y'all have read it. And just let me say, I'm not here to try to tell y'all how to do your job, but I do appreciate consideration, and you look over the rules and stuff that's ordinances, because if you look at the ordinances and look at the complaints, it pretty much checks every one of them. And I just plead with y'all to look at these things and realize that me and my wife sitting right over in front of there, and we have grandchildren, 7. Some of them real young, always from to be 13. They're in the yard playing, and we have to deal with this stuff. We have to deal with the vulgar music, the fighting in the parking lots, the cussing, and all of that. And I don't never, it's like I told the mayor July the 4th when I come and talk with him, we is having a big family get together that day, all the grandkids there. I don't know what's going to happen. Are they going to be the bad crowd there or the good crowd? Because there's good crowds there. I'm not saying everybody's bad. It's there because I know a lot of them and friends with some of them. And it's not that. It's just that we don't never know. And I'm in my own yard and in my own property. I can't get away from it. I mean, where do I go? And so I just say, and this has been going on for over a year. And this is not my first complaint. I did one on the beginning, And it kinda got better for a little bit, and then it went right back, but it just keeps on and keeps on. I stayed out of it for a long time, just thinking, well, things are gonna get better. You know, just don't acknowledge it and things will get better. But it hadn't. And I will say that, as far as I know, nothing has ever been pointed at us as far as hollering or cussing toward us. But still, you gotta put up with it, you gotta listen at it. And I just wish y'all would take that all in consideration, and whatever y'all do, I know, y'all take a oath to serve the community, and I just feel like that, we're not getting heard, you know, because it's been going on for years. So I just appreciate y'all's consideration of some means of stopping it. You know, and like I said, that's y'all's job. That's the reason we vote for y'all and y'all are elected, is to apply the rules. And so I'm not gonna sit here and tell you how to do that, but I would appreciate it if you, because we're the innocent ones. We haven't done anything. And, but yet we're having to put up with it. So I'll probably talk longer, 2 minutes here.
Can I ask you a
So I
question
appreciate it. Yes, ma'am.
about, because I read everything.
Alderman Maynard, you're not supposed to do that. This is not a hearing. This is his presentation.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Turner.
620 Highway 104. I said over the other night when they were leaving, people leaving, I seen a red Wagoneer or whatever you call them pickups, that it took them the longest in the world to turn around in that parking lot. The two men got in the vehicle and the lady drove. She didn't have no business being under that steering wheel. You watch how she's driving. But she went on down the road. I watched 2 others leave there. They left the building with their drinks in their hands. That's illegal. They were drunk and they left out and they're driving. You know, it ain't hard to see it, you know, not at all. But motorcycles leaving there and raising sand, and then coming by my house 100 mile an hour plus, he'll take care of himself sooner or later. But the thing about it is, what innocent one's fixing to get killed out there because of inactivity and nothing being done. And we've got to have something done. Because restaurant, and me looking at it, restaurant is not a chance. It's a beer joint. It's a beer joint. That's all it is. With food. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Barker.
Drew Barker, 46490 Highway 69. I live right across the street from it. You have one of the most volatile areas in all of Hardin County, capable of producing a major incident or violence at any time. The only reason it hasn't is because we keep turning the other cheek and waiting for the system to work. I don't know what it's gonna take down there for something to be done. Even this weekend, I had 2 females try to gain access to my property. I watched a Corvette almost drive into the little red shed and then do all kinds of nonsense. And then an assault happened, and you guys have the videos. You can clearly see a punch being thrown, same thing he's talking about. Every time it's something. And there's gonna be an incident down there. And then people are gonna ask questions. And they're gonna ask questions of you guys, the elected officials. The paper trail is a mile long at this point. Like Tim Little said, it's been going on for over a year. I don't know how much longer we have to put up with this. It doesn't fit anything. It doesn't fit the zoning. It's ridiculous at this point. I can't speak to what happens inside, but I sure as heck can speak to what happens outside, and it's out of control. That's it.
Ms. Kimball.
All right, Betty Kimball, 710 Highway 104. Of course, I have been at the Barkas several times, and I've seen the people park. I've seen them when they leave. They sit there with their lights, they back in, their lights, they sit there for as long as they want to, ripping their motors, playing their loud music. Just the other night, this car pulls out of the parking lot going west, but they're in the eastbound lane. And they're in that eastbound lane almost to Handy Corner. Now, are they intoxicated? If they are, why are they on the wrong, why aren't they on the right side of the road if they're not intoxicated? But it's just, I think it's an eyesore. It's on the main highway. And when you've got people that are intoxicated leaving there, you are putting a lot of innocent people at risk. And it's gonna happen, sooner or later, it's gonna happen. And I hope it's not your family, I hope it's not my family, and I don't really know what I would do if that place was in front of my house. So I want y'all to ask yourself, what would you do if that was in your front yard? Would you tolerate it, or what would you do? You know, it lowers their property value, and it's just not a good thing to see. With our town supposedly fixing to boom and maybe grow, do we want that right there? You know, or follow, you know, somebody needs to be there to watch that parking lot, because from what I've read, the owner of the business needs to be in control of the people inside as well as in control of the people outside the business. So,
One other thing, don't nobody, if you hear anything about anything in their yard, it's been taken down. And it's been down a while, and they're still doing this stuff, so that is a moot point. Cause a lot of them will blame that, that's junk. Thank you.
All right, so, you heard the community comments on this, board. I do wanna share a couple things with you. I want to address real quick Mr. Barker. He mentioned that the zoning was not correct for that establishment. I don't know if I told you that, Mr. Barker, if you looked it up somewhere, but I have been corrected. In the multi-use district, which is where all these yellow lines are on this board behind you, a business can be out there because it is, and a business like this, because it is on a arterial or collector street. So in the original planning of the zoning for City of Saltillo, there's some dotted lines on here, you might not be able to see from where you're sitting, but it's called the business inclusion zone. Ideally, all businesses similar to that would be encouraged to be developed in that area, a little closer to downtown. But specifically, if they're on a collector or arterial street, which is all of Highway 69, that they can't actually be there. So that's just one issue I want to mention to you. So let's get into some of these comments, Mr. Chairman. I know you haven't seen them a lot, and I will tell you, Mr. Barker also mentioned video. I did not provide the videos to you because I believe the board should be able to look at the videos together in the same volume, in the same video, and see what you see. I believe some things are skewed on sound, volume, quality of your video, things like that. I don't know if their videos would be admissible in court if they got an attorney and went to court and sued them for, you know, loss of property value, anything like that. But legally, there needs to be some other things on it that I understand. But if this board chooses to go to a hearing, we'll try to make available the ability to see them together, because once I give you those videos, they become a public record. So tonight, all of the documents you have in front of you will become a public record. So anyone at the newspaper, anyone in the community can fill out a public records request, and they can get those documents and do whatever they choose to do with them. So first, let me draw your attention to the initial complaint that kind of prompted a little bit of this meeting. It happened on July 28th, and you have a complaint, a little red shed for Mr. Barker. You have one for Mr. Little, and then you have one, I think it's actually two different ones for Mr. Barker that you'll see. But let me tell you a little bit about the incident as my knowledge of it. So I was out at family's house, and I received a phone call about an issue going on at the little red shed on July 28th. Mr. Little texted me about the complaint, and I believe, and I don't have the text in hand, I believe Mr. Barker also, he or his wife texted me, and in their statement, they said that we have called the police. So I called the business owner, Naomi Patel. I say the one that's managing the joint, his sister's with it And I called him, and I talked to him personally, and I said, look, if you got a loud motorcycle out in your parking lot, the neighbors are complaining, and that you need to go handle that right now. Somewhere in the midst of all of that, I believe, looking at the videos and looking at my time of when I called the Little Red Shed and all that kind of stuff, that there was an issue with the motorcycle in the parking lot. Somebody knows who that individual was that was blaring the music. Somebody knows who that same individual that did a burnout in the street, but the name of that individual has not been provided to me. If we do have a name, I want you to understand that our chief of police will inquire into it and have a conversation with this person. But you can't write them a ticket or do anything. They've got to witness that. They've got to pull them over. If they got a helmet on, you can't be sure from a video exactly who that really is, because that's not the only motorcycle that's made like that. So anyway, I called the property owner and told him, hey, you got a problem. And to the best of my knowledge, that after that call, based on this statement, that person finally left, either on his own accord or after the property owner told him to leave, or whatever he did, he left, and that was kind of the end of that initial incident. But you've got the three complaints about the vulgar music or loud music, the motorcycle burning out, and as Ms. Kimbrell mentioned, yes, the ordinance does say that the business owner is responsible for the activities in his parking lot and in his establishment. And keep in mind, they do have both a beer and liquor license at this establishment. And yes, it was given to them on the premise that it is a restaurant operating who sells beer and liquor, okay? So the initial complaint that you see in front of you from July 28th, Alderman Maynard, I cut you off on a question that needs to be directed to me, but do you have a question about the initial complaint that you've been able to read then?
Well, I thought, you say July 28th. This one is, the date of incident was July 2nd. That I actually had a question about, because, and I
All right,
understand.
so yeah, so let me correct myself. That may have been July 2nd.
It was.
I'm looking at the wrong one in front of me right here.
It was
Yeah.
July 2nd.
Yeah,
The initial incident, I'm sorry, it was July the 2nd, as I described all the happenings of the motorcycle burnout and the loud music stuff. Yeah, that is, I am corrected. All right, go
So
ahead.
when they say and I'm talking about Tim and Debbie Little and Barker, when they say they tried to contact different authorities, did you try to contact the police? Did you call the
Well,
police?
that needs to be directed to me.
Okay, I'm sorry.
And so,
Were the
yes,
police called?
they stated that they contacted the police. And so let me just give you a little background on the police itself and what we've told people to do. One is that we have a part-time patrol officer.
Right,
He was not on duty.
right.
And we have a chief of police. He was not on duty at that time either.
Right.
So our next step is the county. So what we've told the community, if you have an issue, contact the dispatch office. If it's life-threatening, call 911.
Right.
If it's not life-threatening, call dispatch. And they will know if we have an officer on duty or not, because they have to call in 10-8 or whatnot to know that they're on duty. So if they know we don't have anybody on duty, they generally send a patrol car out. And so, as I understand, a patrol car did come out, but it didn't really, have enough information or whatever to do that. Now, because I'm the mayor, I'm gonna ask Mr. Barker, does that sound correct that the county car did come out, but they didn't talk to you directly?
The county car came out, pulled into the parking lot, didn't even stop and left.
Yeah.
Probably 45 minutes after.
Yes,
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Because there was no,
I think you
everyone,
told me that too, so.
everyone cleared out, there was no one there.
Yeah,
So
so
they
there was a
didn't-
call,
Yeah.
and they did respond, but,
Okay,
as far as the statement, it didn't appear that they went any further other than just checking the parking lot out.
yeah.
Which
Okay.
okay,
Because I was hoping that they had made a complaint or made a
yeah.
report.
Did the police, can I ask a question? When the police are called or dispatched, do they not make a complaint?
You mean
Do
complete
the
a
police
report?
not Yes,
Yeah.
report about that they were called and they went out, and what was the
Well,
result?
it kinda, I think, depends. I'm not a law enforcement agent, but Chief Graves took a complaint, from the Barkers, I believe, and the Littles, is that correct?
The other officer.
Oh, yeah, Will Banks. He went a day or so later to take that complaint. So the county car didn't do anything. He didn't talk to anybody.
No.
So it's kinda up to the officer, but, knowing the incident, I communicated to Chief Graves. He went out and took Officer Will Banks went out and took a report of the incident. And so with that, the trouble we have is that an officer really needs to witness the person burning out on a motorcycle in the street. They can do something about that. They need to be able to witness the noise and disruption. That, I mean, 'cause we do have complaints, certainly, but the business owner, they have an opportunity to say their side too at some point. But these are the complaints that were given to me, directed to you, so you could make decisions about where we go from here. So that was the initial incident this month. I will say, prior to this incident, it appeared that things were a little quiet, like not much, but yes, it was a holiday weekend, but should not excuse the fact that you gotta behave right. And you got to carry on business appropriately regardless if it's Christmas, 4th of July, whatever. Any questions about that initial incident? Just clarification or anything? Yeah, go ahead.
I have a comment.
Sure.
Miss Little called me, we were in Florida on July 2nd, that was my birthday, that's why I remember. But, and I could hear the motorcycle, I could hear the music. She said she was home, and it was as bad as the reports say from what I heard on the 15-20 minute phone call with her. So, I saw a video of the light shining, looked like a motorcycle backed in, and the light shining straight over real bright, and the motor revving up, you know, etc. But it was extremely loud, and from what I heard and saw, it does go against the application, or I don't know how to say this, the ordinance, the ordinances for a business. And in saying that, I do want to say that I really want to work this next year on trying to promote business as a past business owner. So, but we want a business that brings people in, not the police all the time. So I got that phone call, and I just wanted to write, and I could see from the phone, she turned the phone around, you know, and, so.
Let me add something into that she heard, when he left, he come down 104, and he passed my house going over 100 miles an hour. I can guarantee it.
Okay, the second incident was a recent incident, and you have that in front of you about, and I'm gonna summarize just real briefly. There was an altercation, it appeared to be a young lady and a young man that got into a fight. It appeared that the young lady struck the other individual, young man. It appeared that, I couldn't really tell from the video too much, that she got in a vehicle. I don't know if she was the driver, the passenger, or whatever, but there was a disturbance on the property. And so, when you read the statement, and when I read it initially, I thought, well, man, was it a brawl, was it a big fight, was it, you know, so it was, I would characterize it a little bit like a domestic, because it was a boy and a girl, and it didn't last very long. Doesn't excuse it, I'm just giving you my synopsis of what I have read and what you have read. And then there was some possible, well, you see it in front of you, like, reckless driving type thing or something. You know, I know you haven't seen the video, but you see the statement in front of you. So, the other part about, in the statement, that tripping the perimeter fence and all that from Mr. Barker, that really has nothing to do with the beer license. That's a police matter, doesn't have anything to do with that. So your job and my job is to determine, do these complaints provide enough warrant that you go to a hearing, and from a hearing, you would do all what we've done before. This is not anything new. And you have an opportunity to fine, remove license, all those things within the ordinance. You have the powers to determine that. But I think for you as a board, from looking at what you have here and from hearing this public statement, you have to determine, is there enough information here to warrant having a hearing over this matter? That's where it has to go. I'm sorry, you won't sign in?
I'd like to speak to that incident because I was there with the Corvette.
I have a question. Does any law enforcement go into the building to check if the people are being overserved? Because if they're leaving out and doing all this, if you've not been overserved, I don't think you'd be doing that unless it was getting back at somebody.
Again, I must give you the preface that I'm not law enforcement, but I've talked to our attorney a few times about this. And so there are places around, I say the community of Jackson or whatever, where the ABC agents go in and they do these sting operations, they observe what's going on with the clientele. Here in our community, I say that probably doesn't happen. I know, like I said, I don't know, I'm assuming the county and our police don't go in and look and see, hey, you look like you're drunk, because they just don't do it that way. The issue for us in this board is a couple things, that they have a beer license and they also have a alcohol license, a liquor license. And so in dealing with this problem, it makes it a little complex, because we can take the beer license if y'all have a hearing and you just say, hey, look, we believe that y'all have violated every letter of the ordinance and we're gonna take your beer license from you. But they will still have a liquor license. We cannot touch the liquor license. That is the Alcoholic Beverage Commission. So you need to think through, is the resolution to try and deal with the business owner to get a little more control of their property, or is it that these issues are, I wouldn't say transient, the motorcycle doesn't sit there all day. You know, it's intermittent, I think that's the word, yeah, intermittent. But yeah, I'm sure for property owners, it's annoying as all get out to have to deal with that all hours of the evening. And they don't like it, and I don't think I would like it. Just like Mr. Little mentioned, I don't think I'd want to live right across the street from noise all the time. But just as you heard in our meeting that we have intermittent noise from these tractor trailers that Jake break all through town, it doesn't last long, but yeah, it's annoying. But getting back to the beer license, that you have to make a determination if what you have heard and what I've explained, what you've heard from citizens, does it warrant enough to go to a hearing? But yes, was there an incident or two? Yes. It was described here. First-hand statement that we know of. We have a police report to back some of it up. I mean,
One more question. What, I know that the last one we had talked about getting that sound meter thing, decimal or whatever. Is that ever?
We have that device, but the problem with that is having an officer there to operate. The officer has to use that for us to have the evidence. I can't just go out there and do it. I mean, I could, but as the mayor is not really legit in court, that the mayor is trying to enforce a noise violation. Now, the challenging thing, I would say for everybody in our community, with a part-time police department, we're not paying a part-time patrol officer to go sit up there on 104 every time they're open to monitor that. That is not what we're paying for. He is in that area when he works, but I will say one of the complicating matters is the hours of the day that he works in his part-time job. It does benefit us, but not to the degree we thought it would based on his schedule. So what I'm saying is enforcement, if we gotta wait on the county to get here, it's long gone, it'd be over with. If we don't have our officer on duty, there's little that we can do other than talk to the property owner. But I will tell the board, there's a couple things we talked to both property owners, the business and the barkers, is they could get their own attorneys and they could go to a judge, and the judge has the power to say, all right, we believe you are hampering the way of life for these individuals. You have to curtail your hours. You have to do these. So the judge can do a lot of other things. Only thing we can do in the end is take their beer license, which, yeah, it may hurt their business a little bit, but they still gonna have alcohol. So it's not gonna solve the problem, to my knowledge.
But I think
Yeah,
that
Sends a statement.
I think it sends a statement to our community, to ABC, and I'll just tell you flat out, I think that when our policemen are on duty, they should be going in every business in this town. Because I think that that's part of their job, is the safety of our businesses. I mean, it doesn't bother you if they come into your business, it wouldn't bother, I would not think it bothered anybody for a policeman to come into there. I would welcome them to come into
Yeah,
there.
well, I'll be frank with you, that Officer Will Banks has been in that business a number of times. He's frequently there a number of times, on duty, and, going casually like anybody else does. He's been there. I'm gonna pause here for a minute. Mr. Hart didn't sign in till late, but I'll let you go ahead and speak, Mr. Hart.
Okay, I just wanted to address the most recent incident because I was actually there. It was actually an older couple pulled in a yellow Corvette. I'm sure you'll see it on the video. You'll also see me on the video. They came in and were visibly blitzed as soon as they came in. I didn't see them get served anything. As a matter of fact, there was a little bit of an argument about, why won't you serve us? Here it is, closing time, et cetera, So as to keep the peace, not going, hey, you're already drunk, I'm not serving you. So they go out to their car, and I'm sitting there trying to pay for a meal, and I hear gravel spinning outside. I'm like, wait a minute, did they get mad? My truck's right there. I'm thinking, are they spinning gravel all over my truck? And I go out there, and they're backing up, spinning gravel the whole way, and then they're going forward and still spinning gravel, but they're not just, the whole way. And then they stop sideways, parallel to the road out there. So I go out there, just to see what was going on, if they were having trouble or whatever, and the gentleman at that point was attempting to drive the car. The parking brake would not release. I can verify that. So I had him to get out to see if I could get the parking brake to release, because I'm like, here he is, he's gonna be spinning gravel, they can't get out of here, I'll see what I can do. When he got out, and I was trying to get that released, she got out, and they got into an altercation. Other people had come out by this time, and we had to separate them. Okay, at the time we got them separated, she did take a swing at him. But by the time that we got them separated, we're like, look, let us just take you guys home. We can park the car right over here, beside the building, whatever. Y'all don't need to be driving. And it was set up between 3 different people, they had a ride home. Well, they weren't going to leave the car. So I literally drove that car and that lady back to her home. The man refused to take a drive, and he ended up just walking down the road. And what are you gonna do, tackle the guy? He's, free to go where he wants to. And after we got her car back to her house, there was a gentleman there that had offered him a ride in the side-by-side. He brought me back to my truck. So that's what went down with that little incident. I understand that there was an altercation with the police afterwards, but I didn't see that person.
Well, the job for you is to determine what should you do. Should you have a hearing? Should you try to work with the property owner? I think that part of the challenges are that the officer issue. I think that's part of our issue, that we just don't have somebody here enough to be there. Like I said, if they could call dispatch and an officer be there fairly quickly, you might catch something. You may, but if we have to wait, to resolve something. And so,
Can I say something else?
sure.
How many complaints has been made because of all the things that goes on there? How many complaints does it take,
Well, I can't address how many, but many of those complaints were addressed in the previous hearing. And so, the board realized that we've already had a hearing once or twice on this same establishment,
So
as
it's
far as
obvious,
the-
it's obvious that he's not really trying to control what goes on outside. He may control what goes inside, but he may
Well,
not be
I'm not gonna
trying.
debate you on that, but I would say, since the hearing that we had prior, because we had many complaints prior to that hearing. Since that hearing, I don't think we have had as many complaints, but yes, we have had some complaints. Yeah. Mr. Barker.
I've submitted quite a few complaints that you're not talking about since the hearing, like the gentleman that came up and peed on my yard that they didn't think I was there, and
Yeah, well,
and
that
other
is not a
things
beer
that I
board
don't
issue.
know.
That's not a beer board issue.
That's not a beer board issue.
No, that somebody comes over on your property.
From a customer
Yeah,
from
that's
there,
right.
coming
Have
over,
nothing to do with that.
has nothing to
That's-
do.
No, that's a police matter.
Mm,
Had nothing to do
okay.
with beer board.
Roger that,
Okay.
I just have one thing to say in
Amazing.
regards to the motorcycles. One of the reasons why they pack the bikes in is because that's a downhill slope, and a motorcycle does not have reverse. So when you've got a 600-700 pound motorcycle on gravel, you can't push it back up a hill with your feet. But when you come in, you can back it in, and then of course you've got all the forward gears to leave out with. Now that does not excuse if they're gonna sit there for 15, 20 minutes, bike running, none of that. It's just purely physics. It's the nature of a motorcycle, it does not have reverse, and that's why they back it. So when they do start it up, a motorcycle, when you start it up, you don't have to turn on the headlight. It comes on with the ignition switch. So that's why they're backing in. And then if the lights are hitting the other houses, that's gonna be a given, but yeah, they should fire it up and then go ahead and get going.
So we need,
I'm not
we
trying
need-
to make
So,
an
At
excuse.
this
Yeah,
point, we need a motion to either, to have a hearing with,
The information that's been presented to you tonight, you have to make a decision on having a hearing or not. That's the simple answer. From that, the hearing will send a letter out to, Blue Red Shed owners, and it'll send a notice out to the complainants for the hearing on a certain date, and we will go through all those things, and then it would be, just like, just like a court, it'd be, the witnesses, the complainant, the rebuttal, all that kind of stuff that we've done before. So, we've been down this road a little bit already, but we are still having the complaints. But that's what you have to decide. Is it,
I'm gonna make a motion that we have a hearing. on the subject and, on the complaints that we've been given with the owners.
Okay, got a motion by Alderman Maynard to, proceed with a hearing for the Little Red Shed. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, second by Alderman Reeves. So, moving forward with a hearing, I'll start on this end. Alderman Reeves,
Yes.
Alderman Maynard,
Yes.
Alderman Morgan,
Yes.
Alderman Wood,
No.
Alderman Carter.
Yes.
All right, so the motion passed to go to a hearing with a Little Red Shed about their continued complaints and violations of the ordinance.
Can I
So-
make I'd like to make a statement when you get through.
Okay. So, it will be a hearing, they will be notified. I don't have a date on the calendar, but it should be within like a couple of weeks to get all the paperwork filled out and all that. So, okay, so y'all have made a motion to have a hearing. All right, Alderman Wood.
I think we've had hearings. I think nothing's changed. I feel that, if it were my house, that I would expect my city to enforce the ordinances that they have. Not without due process, but we've had due process. And, we keep talking about it and talking about it and talking about it. And these people keep having issues. And I agree, when people are leaving drunk and other people having to take them home, someone's not watching what they're serving, and it's gonna be a bad wreck. And, I think it's time, the reason I voted no for the hearing is because I think it's time for us to do more than a hearing. So I just wanted to explain myself.
Don't we have to have the hearing first?
No, we do not.
The hearing,
We don't.
has to be had for due process, so this board meeting, so this beer
Let me
board
can
meeting.
I think there's a question.
Okay,
We can move to pull the beer license. We don't have to have a hearing.
no,
No.
Oh, we can't.
You
Oh,
have to provide somebody due
I
process.
misunderstood that.
Yeah.
What?
you have to have due process for
We've
the.
had due process. How many due process
Well,
do you have?
Because we
every
went-
time you have a hearing.
Every time,
So the
every
last
time
hearing-
we've decided to.
The last hearing, the board determined not to do anything, no fine, no nothing.
Okay.
So now you have additional complaints that come in since that hearing that you can establish. So you have to provide the opportunity for that other side to share their statements and rebuttals and witnesses and all that kind of stuff.
Well,
And-
if possible, I would like to, because of my misunderstanding, I would like to change my vote
She will withdraw her no vote.
to a yes vote,
To a-
because
okay.
I was under, I thought that since we'd already had due process, that we didn't have to continue to do that.
Yeah, no.
I think
Yeah,
that it
no,
would,
that's-
I think that we should know how many complaints have been
This is getting-
lodged since March the 7th, because that's the minutes we approved. Our last beer board meeting was March the 7th,
Well,
and now it's August the 1st.
let me make a comment that some folks aren't gonna like. I do disagree with the thought that there is no provoking here. Me and my wife went in the Red Shed the other night to eat some chicken wings, and you can't even see the pull out. There's so many spotlights coming from the Barker's house. Now, what got me to make the motion is Tim Little's comment. This behavior went on for approximately 45 minutes, and we did not see any attempt of the Little Red Shed having him to leave their premises. That's where I come in. like, okay, well, and that's a viable complaint that warrants a hearing.
And they stood at the door laughing to help. So they knew what's going on.
Can I respond since I was called out to the lights? The reason I do that is because people keep trying to come up and gain access to my property and do stuff to me, my family, or my house. So I have a whole perimeter system set up because of that. That's the only reason, because people keep coming up on my property, customers from the Little Red Shed, doing what I take as wanting to do my family harm. So if I can't bring it up here because it doesn't affect that, I don't know what you guys want me to do. My family's gonna be protected. And if I gotta put spotlights and motion detectors and trip alarms to keep drunks and lowlifes and criminals from hurting my family or my property, I'll do whatever it takes. I'll put up more spotlights. That's the only reason those are up. It's because customers keep trying to gain access to my property for no reason.
If their vehicle is on the Little Red Shed parking lot, that's still the responsibility of the property owner. And if they are crossing the road and their vehicle is still on their property, they're,
Well, we'll respectfully disagree on that premise, but I understand your point. Any additional from the audience? Okay, a hearing will be set. We'll let you know when the date is, and we'll communicate to all, and we will have a hearing. Motion to adjourn.